My boyfriend told me to smile more. He had no idea what he was in for. Hudson was always telling me I could be prettier if I tried harder. I'd been ignoring it for months, but at his friend's party, exhausted from a double shift, something finally snapped. He grabbed my face in front of everyone and said, "You'd be so much prettier if you smiled more instead of looking miserable all the time. Men don't want to date someone who looks angry." His friends laughed while he added that my resting bitch face was probably why I didn't get promoted. I turned to him with the biggest smile I'd ever produced and said he was absolutely right. Hudson looked proud of himself, not noticing how his friends' girlfriends were staring at him with disgust. I kept that smile plastered on my face for the rest of the party, grinning like a pageant contestant while Hudson told his gross stories. His friend's girlfriend pulled him aside and whispered that it looked like he'd threatened me or something because no one smiles that much unless they're scared. Hudson tried to explain he'd just asked me to smile more, which made him sound even worse, like he was controlling what expressions I was allowed to have. The next morning, I smiled through breakfast while Hudson criticized my cooking, my apartment, my career choices. His mother called to ask about the party since his friend's mom had mentioned something seemed off with me. Hudson handed me the phone, rolling his eyes, and I answered with the brightest voice possible. "Everything's wonderful. Hudson taught me that I need to smile more because men don't like angry women, so I'm smiling all the time now." She went silent before saying she was coming over immediately, and when she arrived, she took one look at my frozen smile and started yelling at Hudson about what he'd done to me. His mother insisted we come to his grandmother's funeral that weekend to show the family everything was fine, but that backfired spectacularly when I smiled through the entire service. I beamed in the front row while everyone cried, and his relatives were horrified. When they asked Hudson why I was smiling at a funeral, he had to admit he'd told me to smile more. His aunt said, "You made her smile at a funeral? What kind of controlling psychopath are you?" The entire family turned on him, saying he'd obviously broken me somehow, and his mother started crying about where she went wrong raising him. His brother still invited us to his wedding the next month, probably hoping things would improve, but I stood grinning maniacally in every photo while the bride was having a breakdown about her missing flowers. The photographer kept asking if I could look more sympathetic, and Hudson had to explain our situation in front of the entire wedding party. The bride's family spent the rest of the reception whispering about Hudson's abusive control tactics, and several of them cornered me in the bathroom to slip me domestic violence hotline numbers. Hudson thought a night out would help us look normal, but we ran into his ex-girlfriend at the bar, crying about her dad's cancer diagnosis. I stood there smiling brilliantly while she sobbed, and when someone asked what was wrong with me, I said loudly, "Hudson told me I need to smile more because men don't like angry women." The entire bar turned to look at Hudson like he was a monster, and his ex actually slapped him before several women came over to ask if I needed help getting away from him. The stress gave Hudson food poisoning that night, and he spent 3 hours throwing up while I smiled supportively next to the toilet. His roommate found us with me grinning while Hudson lay groaning on the floor and immediately asked what Hudson had done to me. He said I'd be prettier if I smiled more, I explained, still smiling. His roommate called Hudson an abusive piece of garbage and moved out that week, posting on social media about Hudson's psychological torture. Hudson's boss saw those posts and dragged him to a company dinner to assess the situation himself. I smiled relentlessly while his boss talked about serious topics like layoffs and budget cuts, never breaking my grin even when discussing workplace tragedies. His boss pulled Hudson aside and said, "Why are you making her smile like that?" Hudson's attempt to explain confirmed everything, and his boss started treating him like a potential HR nightmare who might snap at female employees. Between his boss's concerns, his family's horror, and his friends refusing to hang out with someone they thought was an abuser, Hudson was falling apart. His mother wouldn't speak to him. His therapist said his need to dictate my facial expressions was deeply concerning, and by Sunday he was begging me to stop smiling. "Everyone thinks I'm a controlling psychopath," he screamed while I smiled at him peacefully. "My entire life is destroyed." His phone rang with his father's name on the screen, and Hudson went pale because his dad only called when someone had called him first with concerns. As he answered, I heard his father's booming voice say something about an intervention. Hudson hung up and stared at me in horror. "What intervention? What did you do?" I kept smiling as I pulled out my phone and showed him the group text with his family, friends, and boss, all confirming they'd be here in an hour for his control issues intervention that I'd been organizing all week with a smile on my face. Full story on the channel below.